very worried about the press, extremely worried about the press.
Not only for the technological reasons we're all worried about, and not only for the financial tectonic plates moving, but for some other reason. What one?
Well, for example, I once asked Donald Trump, why do you keep pounding on the press? This was right after he won in 2016. You know, it's kind of boring. You say the same thing over and over, and you won. You know, it's time to drop it. Why do you do it? And he said, I do it and I repeat it because the more I do that, the less people are going to believe you when you say negative things about me and whatever else. Totally. And it's happened. If you watch the opinion of us, how many people trust the press anymore? I mean, we're way down there with the lawyers. Yeah. This is really rough, as you know.
You're way down there with Congress.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're way down there with Congress, but we're way down there. And I despair. Seriously, I worry greatly, and I think there are other institutions that have been suffering. And you're right not to blame Donald Trump 100%, obviously. Started many years before. But we're at a point where if the President of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess Musk said that. Legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of, sort of, hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers.
I have a lot of suggestions for you, Leslie. Should we go over them? Like, maybe don't say the laptop can't be verified when it can. And then when your own organization verifies it, come out and do a mea culpa and admit that you embarrassed yourself. Maybe don't stealth edit the presidential candidate on the Democrats' side interview with 60 Minutes, your flagship program that you're an anchor of, without telling us. And then when it becomes a controversy, refuse to release the transcript because you're more interested in running cover for the Dems than you are in honest reporting. Maybe don't host a vice presidential debate where you fact check only one side. And then when your fact check gets fact checked by the vice presidential candidate on the Republican side, you cut his mic. Just a few thoughts off the top of my head on what you can do about it.
See, the media, as I've said many times, it's becoming my catchphrase that these people are still arguing as though it's November 3rd and November 4th. They don't understand what happened to them. In fact, if you knew what happened to you on November 5th, you wouldn't be on these television stations. You at this point would actually be working very hard to understand how you can become a part of the new media. You wouldn't be on CNN. You wouldn't be on any of these shows. If you thought you had the goods, and after what you saw on November 5th, you would say, hey, I need to go online to Amazon. I need to buy myself some camera. I need to buy myself some lights and a microphone and understand this is what is needed moving forward. If you're still on CNN, especially some of these people who call themselves contributors, I'm not talking about the host. When you look at these panels and there's 4 people, 5 people sitting there, nobody gives a crap what you have to say. Most of the people don't even know you. You have no hand. You're just there. You're furniture on a set. And nobody cares what you have to say. How do I know that? We just saw what happened on November 5th. None of these people have audiences. And it's funny because the people who are recognizing this, thankfully, are being shunned by the Democrat Party because they're letting them know this ain't going to work anymore.
And I'm telling you, we are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing.
So look at that. That's a whole panel of people in the media. And all of them are on different networks and different things there. And Van Jones, who, you know, he is who he is trying to let him know, you're done. You're on a spit. They're turning you. You're not dead yet, but you're cooked. It's over. It's never going back. You have lied to the American people so much that at this point they don't want to hear what you have to say. Even today, when all this stuff comes up about the January 6th stuff, they're still lying. They will be lying at 6 o'clock. They will be lying at 7 o'clock all night long on MSNBC, CNN. All they will do is lie about what just came out. And they just cannot get themselves into the mindset of everything I'm doing, everything I've been supposedly trained for. I'm a journalist. And Van's telling them.
Our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door-knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I asked I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z.
The lady sitting next to him don't want to hear it. They don't even want to hear this messaging. Their self-awareness is so bad, they think they are the most important. He's telling them they don't even care about Barack Obama.
He says, Kai sent.
And see, he doesn't even know who these people are. I believe him here because that's not the guy's name. Kai sent. That's not who he is. You guys can look up and you'll see it's Kai Cenat. But anyway, continue.
Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million.
No. Nope. They're getting 14 million. Cable's getting like a couple 100,000. Come on, man. You got to tell the right math. Had to call you on that.
And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And it's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off.
And the problem for them is that they have no way to fix it. As you saw the lady sitting next to him, I don't even know what network she's on, and they just look so uncomfortable. You see, because going into a broadcast studio, everything's done for you. You already know what you're going to talk about. You don't have to do anything. It's all given. You're going to talk about this today. So we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth and his girlfriends. And here's what we want you to say. And we're going to bring on a liberal, and we're going to bring on a Republican, and you guys can joust for the fun of it. And then afterwards, go down to Starbucks and have a coffee together. It's all fake. It's all fake. How do you know this? Because of what this next guy says. Listen to this next guy, and you realize right away, these people are completely lost.
2. Now, if they wanted to make someone person of the year, they would have made someone who, and my God, I'm sure he loves this, right? If they wanted to make someone person of the year, I don't know, they could have done it with any person. They could have done it to someone who actually stood for democracy, who stands for democracy in the country.
He's not even on the air anymore. His podcast failed. And he's, over the next 30 seconds or whatever it is, you're going to hear him spew all of the normal BS that he would spew on CNN.
Now you think about what encompasses person of the year. Just because you are elected president of the United States does not mean that you should be person of the year. What Time Magazine, what are you doing? Let me ask you, Time Magazine. What do you say to the women who, I guess, still read Time Magazine? Or the women who don't they do like a whole Time 100 thing or something, which, what about the women who are on that list? What about that? I'm sure some of them will had dealt with issues that women have to deal with, like discrimination in the workplace, SA, all kinds of things. You have someone on the cover of your magazine who is an adjudicated assaulter. You have someone who inspired an insurrection. You have someone who
he inspired an insurrection. Really? You see, they can't, it's not like it's just at CNN. It's not just MSNBC. These people that they brought onto these television stations cannot get their minds around what's happened and what's happening in this world. It's almost as though God has indeed put scales on their eyes. You're out of it. You're not even in CNN studios anymore. But you can't even fathom that the American people don't want what you're selling. Again, this is another reason why I say these people will not win anything substantive for quite some time. Because up here, it's still November 3rd. You're still fighting the 34 felonies, convictions, insurrections, essays. Dude, that's over. That's yesterday's news. But they can't do it, or they won't.
Without a doubt, the evidence is there. Try to overturn a free and fair election.
See? They really, really, really believe this stuff. And the more you hear them, or the more, I watch them, so you don't have to, the more you realize that your opponent cannot fix themselves. They are so used to lying. They may be so brainwashed. They may be so liberal they don't understand. He can't even comprehend. How in the hell did you people make him Person of the Year? How did you people vote for him? What the hell did you do? It doesn't compute. Does not compute whatsoever. And so they are stunned. They continue to be stunned. A month later. And they're still wondering, how is this possibly happening? If you can't change, like Van Jones was telling them, if y'all don't change, there's no way back. Yeah, people are listening to people like Benny and Patrick McDavid and Dan Bongino, and thank you for listening to me as well. There is no way this guy sitting in Boca should be getting more viewership than people on NBC, CBS, and CNN and blah, blah, blah. You guys can't even outrank the Food Network. Nobody wants what you're selling, and they can't change.
You had someone who had multiple criminal counts and found guilty on multiple criminal counts. And you name them Person of the Year? Is this a joke? Did we get something wrong? Did someone scam us? Are we sure about this, producers? There is a convicted felon on the cover of Time magazine as the Person of the Year. Maybe we're being scammed. Did someone put out a fake tweet or something about this?
I rest my case. I rest my case. These people are not going to be competitive moving forward.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out that the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were like stunned, but like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still like writes handwritten notes? How did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural, I don't even want to say campaign, running
it was a movement. Look,
movement, heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. Yeah. So everybody keeps, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know how I know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime. And we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots.
Clearly, legacy media, and I think a number of outlets, the narrative is that we've lost the room, we've lost touch with the average person, and that newsrooms are run by well-educated coastal elites, and a lot of this is true, by the way. And I think that the news industry, I mean, I've seen these trends happening for a few years now, but it's almost as if people got slapped in the face and realized that the news landscape has changed dramatically. And I think you talked about this in Reliable Sources. I mean, I think 5% of voters get their information now from newspapers, and linear television news is really declining. The average age for a Fox News viewer is like 78 or something. For MSNBC, it's also 60s, and that's not that old to me anymore, but also CNN. So, I think mainstream and legacy media, traditional media, if you will, is suddenly realizing, holy cow, we better change, and we better change quickly, or we're going to be gone.
I don't know how they could possibly win.